Hello, this is Joe Pryor, the virtual real estate team in Oklahoma City. I have a new message that I want to give investors out there that are buying, and we do have investors buying in Oklahoma City right now. And it is this: interest rates are really outstanding. And I've said this before, I'm an older guy. The first mortgage I ever got in the late 1970s was in the Volcker years. This is when they were trying to control inflation. I didn't want to pay 17% fixed rates in 1978, I believe is when I closed on my first home. And so I did an adjustable rate of 14 7/8% with 6-point cap. In other words, it can go up another 6%, but that was the market at the time. You know, when I entered real estate in 1989, rates were typically about 10.5%, 11%. And now we're in a situation where most of the time in the last few years, rates have been below 5% fixed for investors, even lower for owner occupants. So these are historical lows. And, you know, right now we can tweaking a mortgage, maybe paying a little, what we call a buy down. You know, 4.5% fixed for 30 years is really outstanding. And compared to the past, it's ridiculous because, again, it's fixed for 30 years. It's never going to change. Now, the thing that you have to understand is that when you're talking about $3, $4, $5 trillion worth of stimulus being added in the United States to keep the economy through this period while we get through it, that at some point the piper has to be paid. And that's a lot more mortgage-backed securities that have to be floated to cover up for that, or the fact that the Fed won't be doing quantitative easing. And so the idea of fixing a rate right now, if you have the financial ability to buy an investment property, is something that you absolutely should do. And I'll make one final statement. And again, I'm not a world-class economist. I'm not being interviewed on NBC, CNBC, or Fox, Business News or whatever. But the one thing that I know is that the way that the United States government measures inflation doesn't have an impact on your life. You know, if it's 1.5% or 2%, you know better. You know how much more expensive it is to live. And so if you listen to a lot of people that are a lot more knowledgeable about this than me, they're going to tell you that a mortgage interest rate is nothing compared to the real rate of inflation. When you consider all the expenses, not just what's in the government's basket, but everything that you have to pay for and the prices of it going up. And so normally what most people are estimating is 7 to 8% real inflation. And that's in the good areas, the areas that are not that expensive to live in. If you start talking about New York, New Jersey, California, for instance, even maybe Florida to a certain extent, inflation is 10, 12, even 13% in terms of what it costs to live there. And if you're there, you know what I'm talking about. So if you have a 4.5%, a 5%, even a 5.5% interest rate, you have, according to an effective interest rate, a negative interest rate. So when you see that 30 years, you see all that interest that you pay, you can pretty well throw that away. Number one, you've got somebody in there as a tenant paying for your investment. How many investments can you make that are like that? The second thing is you are below the real rate of inflation. And trust me, with what we're going through right now, and I'm not going to put a timetable on it, but somewhere down the road, that is going to be the case. And two things are going to happen. Those rates that we have right now are going to disappear. And then second of all, the one thing inflation will do for you down the road, increase your rents and also increase the value of your property. You know, in 2008, people made a fortune if they had cash or money because they were able to get the deals. They were able to get the low interest rates that the Fed allowed us to have. Today is the same situation in the respect of taking advantage of this. And this is the time that if you have the ability, you can really make money. Now, unfortunately, most of the people that are going to be listening to me on this one are not going to be able to do that. And I wish that you could, because this is the time that the people that with money do make money. And for those of you who don't, I wish you the best. I hope everything turns out well for you and your family. For those who want to invest, now is the time. The rates are low, the deals are good. You're locking something in for 30 years. We can help you create wealth that is going to give you the life you deserve and the financial security your family needs. This is Joe Pryor, the virtual real estate team. I hope I get a chance to talk to you soon.